Richard.
And I'm Gary, and these are our incredible stories.
Well, good evening and welcome once again to all of our listeners across the United States and around the world. We appreciate each and every one of you being with us this evening. Gary and I are in a scary storytelling mood for some reason.
Oh, that we are. Maybe it's because it's the fall.
Oh,
it's October.
Could be.
The time when the ghouls and goblins come out and we get to have a little bit of fun.
And you know, Alvin Schwartz seems to be our big inspiration this month. The man who wrote Scary Stories
To Tell in the Dark.
To Tell in the Dark. And if you're going to get the book, get the original version of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which was illustrated by Stephen Gamel. His illustrations are second to none. Take our word for it. And we believe what Alvin Schwartz said in print. Telling scary stories is something people have done for thousands of years. For most of us like being scared. And since there's no danger, we think it's fun. So, Gary, tonight there is no danger. And Alvin says it is fun. Go ahead and scare us.
Oh, I'll be delighted to. This evening's story I'm going to base off of Alvin Schwartz's The Big Toe. Now, if you've read it, you probably already know what I'm going to say. But if you haven't, sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you. But it's a story about a young boy who discovers a large toe in the vegetable garden behind his mother and father's home. And he decides to take this toe and bring it back to his mother to put in the stew. And things get progressively worse after that. The story was originally based off of The Golden Arm, which is similar. It has to deal with a husband whose wife has this beautiful golden arm because she is missing one of her arms, and it is made for her. This prosthetic is made for her out of solid gold. And when she dies, her husband is in need of some money, and he decides that the only way he's going to make the money is by digging up his wife's grave and melting her arm down and selling the gold. And of course, her spirit comes looking for it. So this is in the spirit of those. This is my own little spin on it. And I'm going to call this one The Eye.
There once was a little old man who lived in a cabin down the road from an old cemetery. One day, the little old man had decided to go for a walk. He was going to look for roots and wild mushrooms to put in his stew for dinner that night. He might even be lucky enough to find some old rotting animal bones drying out in the sun. And wouldn't that be perfect for the broth? As the old man passed by the cemetery, he noticed what he thought to be a radish growing up out of the ground. But when he got closer to it, he realized it wasn't a radish at all. No, in fact, it was a rather large eye. My, thought the old man, that would be perfect for my stew. So he grabbed a hold of it, and with a great big tug, he freed it from its dirt. In the distance, the old man could hear something moaning. And then run off into the woods. It could have been some kind of wild animal for all he cared, but it didn't matter. He put the eye in his satchel and he headed for home. When the old man got home, he put everything he collected that day into a pot of boiling water, including the eye. He cooked it until everything was nice and tender. And that evening, he had a wonderful meal. It was so good he even shared a little with his dog. After the meal, the man was so full and so tired, he had decided to go to bed. And that's exactly what he did. Sometime in the middle of the night, the old man was woken up by a familiar sound. The same moaning sound he had heard earlier in the day. But it wasn't just moaning now. He could hear the voice saying something, very softly but very clearly. The old man had just assumed it was his imagination. He must still be dreaming. That's all it was. It was nothing more than that. And he was just about ready to go back to sleep when he heard footsteps coming up the walkway to his house. And he heard the voice again, even louder.
Where is my eye?
I ate it, thought the man. But at least he was comforted knowing that he had locked the door. Hadn't he? Well, now the man wasn't sure. And his fears were confirmed when he heard the front door open. He could hear the footsteps dragging across the floor. And again the voice called,
Where is my eye?
The man pulled the covers over his head. He lay in his bed, holding his breath, hoping that whatever it was would just leave the house and not even come near his room. But as hard as he wished, he could now hear the footsteps entering his room. They were at the foot of his bed and getting closer. He could now hear the thing standing above him, breathing over him. And again he heard the voice even louder.
Where is my eye?
The man gulped.
You've got it!
I guess you can imagine what happened to him after that. So that's my version of it. That's a little bit of a spin. So I hope you are entertained by it. Now, next week, I'm going to tell one of Alvin Schwartz's other stories. And it is going to be Nitai Dodie Walker, which is definitely a peculiar tale to tell. But it's one that is, I think, very creepy, especially for people who are sitting around a campfire or really like a good ghost story. So I hope you're looking forward to that next week.
And as Alvin Schwartz reminds us, the best time to hear these stories that Gary is relating to you is at night, in the dark, in the gloom. And Alvin says it's easy for you to imagine all sorts of strange and scary things when you do. And by the way, if scary stories aren't quite your cup of tea, Alvin Schwartz also had some children's books based on folklore. One of them was called Wit Cracks, which was about smart aleck riddles and jokes, which kids tend to like. And Cross Your Fingers, and another book called Spit in Your Hat. And these two are about superstitions. So Alvin Schwartz has a lot to offer. We hope that you will check him out because he just may enrich your life with some literature that you weren't aware of before you listened to us on Incredible Stories.
Mm-hmm. Well, we hope you enjoyed it. And if you are listening to this, hopefully you were listening to it in the dark. Hopefully you were cuddled up with a blanket. And hopefully you weren't scared too bad by it. And if you didn't listen to it the first time with the headphones, I would strongly suggest grab yourself a pair of headphones. And if you're going to listen to it again because you listened to it during the day, turn out those lights and maybe find some other people that might want to listen to it with you. All right. But as for right now, I'm sorry. I think I just stepped on the eye. That's all right. We'll clean that up later.
I'm Richard.
I'm Gary, and this was an incredible story.